Hello and welcome to Who Wore It Better, where I review Raw and Smackdown back to back and try and figure out which show won for the week. And it is the go-home week for Elimination Chamber, so we have to find out which show went home harder. Raw opens up with Stephanie and Triple H in the ring. They provide some Elimination Chamber exposition before showing some clips from last week where Becky Lynch got into it with Stephanie and Triple H on Raw and SmackDown respectively, explaining why she's suspended. Becky Lynch comes out, and as she's making her way out there, I love this lower third graphic they show where they hype up the potential Ronda-Becky match at WrestleMania. They say, Women's Championship? Question mark, leaving it up in the air. So Triple H explains that Becky saw a doctor, her knee is okay, they apologize to Becky, everything's good to go for WrestleMania, as long as she apologizes to them. Well, it seems like a very reasonable, mature thing to do. Well, hold on a second, Buster, because Becky is fiercely paranoid about the McMahon family in general. She says she can take the apologies and shove it up their ass. We get a face-off between Becky and Stephanie, but Triple H talks them down. Triple H gives Becky the choice, either apologize or don't go to WrestleMania, and that is the framing device around which the entire episode of Raw is built around. I think Triple H did a lot of good stuff kind of building up, I think, and Stephanie too, to an extent, did a good job building up the potential of like, don't you all want to see this match of Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey? And like, yes, we should do this. And so you need to apologize. So I think it's a good job by them kind of building that up. Our first matchup is Sasha Banks and Bayley versus the Riot Squad versus Nia Jax and Tamina, who are now calling themselves the Samoan Slaughterhouse. And I have to admit, I really dig that name. They should just make Nia and Tamina a permanent fixed tag team going forth for a long time. I think they work well together. And honestly, I think not many people are going to care about Nia Jax and not get so worked up about her if Tamina is there negating all the energy and charisma for both of them. Anyway, the team that loses this match is going to be beginning the Elimination Chamber match on Sunday. At one point, Sasha Banks gets checked into the barricade and she gets taken out with injury. So it's Bayley all by her lonesome. But at one point she's taken out of the match entirely as well. So Nia and Tamina and the Riot Squad can fight. At this point, I don't know why Bayley just didn't get back in the ring, because it plays to their strength and it plays to their odds to not get back in there. There's no incentive for them to get back in the ring. Let them beat each other up and have one of them pin the other. But sure enough, Bayley comes back in, gets beat by Nia. Doy. Elias is in the ring and he's immediately cut off by video on the big screen of Becky Lynch and Finn Balor having a chat about Becky's big decision. Kind of a weird, awkward, clunky kind of transition there. And so they're talking, and then when they're done, Elias starts up again. They just cut him off to play a highlight package of Seth Rollins, hyping up the Rollins-Lesnar match, complete with Michael Cole narration. We go back to Elias and he's cut off by Lucha House Party. Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, that just seemed so... I get the idea of people interrupting Elias over and over again, but the way they did that made it seem like it was like production botch after production botch after production botch. It's like, in real life, a producer or a truck crew member should have been fired over that. So anyway, Lucha House Party come out and they want to walk with Elias, and Elias does a song where he trashes Grand Rapids. Kalisto plays some guitar and it sounds pretty good, and Elias is like, well, let's do a duet. And instead he just grabs his convenient second guitar and bashes Kalisto in the back with it and runs off. He wouldn't have that. Why would he have that second guitar there in the first place if he didn't know he'd be hitting somebody with it? It's almost like, he was prepared for that sort of thing. I guess you could just never be too safe. Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre is up next. Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush are waiting in the wings on the outside. They do announce there's going to be a handicap match for the IC title as Bobby and Lio defend against Finn Balor. So I guess, in a sense, Bobby and Lio are co-Intercontinental Champions, bringing back the days of Chris Jericho and Chyna. Anyway, the match doesn't really get started. Lashley interferes one too many times. The match ends in a disqualification. Kurt Angle makes the save, and for a brief moment, we get kind of an Impact reunion with like Kurt and Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. Baron Corbin comes out, beats up Angle, Braun Strowman shows up, and before you know it, we have a six-man tag team match playa. And at first, the match ends when Bobby Lashley pins Finn, and he gets his foot on the ropes, and the referee doesn't see it. And then a second referee comes out, and this is just such an inconsistently defended and enforced kind of thing where, like, oh, the heels win dirty, and the second referee comes out to right the wrong. So the match restarts, the baby faces win. Okay, that was 41 minutes. I like back, please. It was just like they dedicated all this time on the show to these individuals, and it's like the most boring part of Raw right now, which is terrible for me to say because I feel bad saying that about guys like Finn and Drew McIntyre, and to a lesser extent Bobby Lashley. Like, these guys, and Braun, these guys deserve so much better than what the fuck kind of bland rigmarole this is. We get a promo from Kevin Owens in a bowling alley with his family. He says he's going to be coming back to the ring in about 1 month, either on Raw or SmackDown. He doesn't know yet, and he ends the promo by throwing a gutter ball, and I pop for that. Up next, Nikki Cross takes on Ruby Riott, who, by the way, is facing Ronda Rousey for the Women's Championship at Elimination Chamber, but you really wouldn't know it. We get not one, but two cutaways to the back where Becky Lynch is talking to people about her impending decision. The crowd is just dead for this match, couldn't care less. Ruby wins the Riott kick, and wow, after just a few weeks, Nikki Cross suddenly no longer feels special, and it's in their face in the crowd. Why bother bringing her up? Why didn't they just lump her in with Sanity, where they're MIA, and just, have her wash their hands of that whole thing? By the way, no way Ruby Riott's winning the title on Sunday. It's Seth Rollins' time. He comes to the ring and says that a couple weeks ago, he took 6 F5s and lived to tell the tale. Paul Heyman interrupts and acts like Brock Lesnar's coming out for a confrontation, but it's a swerve, bro, and no Brock to be found. Heyman says it's not a prediction, it's a spoiler that Brock's going to win, yada, yada, yada. Rollins fires back and says that he doesn't care if it's a suicide mission, he's still going to win. He's going to walk through hell and back to win the championship. So Heyman leaves, Dean Ambrose appears, and they have a bit of a stare down, and simply Dean tells Seth to slay the beast, walks away, gets ready for his matchup next. And apparently he was supposed to say a lot more than that, and he just decided not to. So curious and curiouser for what's going on with Dean Ambrose right now. After replaying the Iconics promo from last SmackDown about the Elimination Chamber match, we go to Dean Ambrose versus EC3, a rematch from last week's big upset. The way the match is booked, I can't really tell who's a face and who's a heel. Dean wins with a small package, and just like that, EC3's big win from last week means absolutely nothing, and I'm still confused. Now, I know last week I got some flack on Who Wore It Better because I said that Dean Ambrose turned face, and people said, well, why would you say that? He's clearly a heel there. I'm not so sure, because that promo he cut on EC3 certainly, to me, brought back memories of, his kind of really entertaining face shtick he did, like right after the Shield broke up, and that's kind of like the vibe I got from that. And so I figured, oh, this is kind of the jovial, goofy, lunatic fringe Dean Ambrose of old, kind of coming back to the surface here. This rematch didn't make whether or not Dean's a face or a heel, didn't make either of those scenarios any more clear cut, except for the fact that, it now just takes away, except for the moment with Dean giving the approval and giving the blessing to Seth Rollins. But besides that, it's still kind of muddled to me. Ruble defend their Raw tag titles against the Revival here, and it took me a while in this match to realize that the Revival have a hashtag FTR on the back of their trunks. And I know I'm sure they're going to say it stands for Forever the Revival, but come on, we know what it's really supposed to stand for. We get a blockbuster German suplex combo by Ruble, and it looks sweet. Somehow not the finish. Gable goes for a move off the top corner, but he eats a shatter machine by the Revival. The Revival win, and finally are the new Raw Tag Team Champions after what feels like forever after they first got onto the main roster. Feels very cathartic to see them win here. It was a great match, and it was a great victory, very feel-good victory. It's too bad we had to sit through such a slog of a show to get there. And, cue all the people who say they only won the tag titles because there were rumors that were going to AEW. Whether it's true or not, you can't say that this win here isn't long overdue. Will Becky Lynch apologize? Apologize. She's in the ring with Triple H and Stephanie. She thinks about it for a bit. We do hear a suck it chant at one point from the crowd, but she ultimately apologizes to Triple H and Stephanie. They all shake hands. All's forgiven, and Triple H and Steph walk away. All of a sudden, Ronda Rousey shows up. They have a face-off. Do she and Becky? Then out comes Mr. McMahon, who suddenly says that, nah, Becky, you're suspended for 60 days anyway, despite apologizing, and here's your replacement for WrestleMania, Charlotte Flair. And not only that, he endorses her by raising her hand and saying she's going to win. So what does this mean? Basically, Charlotte's got the corporate seal of approval now. It seems that we're getting kind of a power struggle here between Triple H and Stephanie and Mr. McMahon, because McMahon is kind of like, he doesn't care about the apology. Triple H and Stephanie are the ones who on the surface are fighting and advocating for Becky here, and Vince is just kind of throwing that away. Whether or not it's going to lead to some kind of collusion between the two sides, who really knows? And all I could think about this when I saw this was, well, I guess we can put to bed the theory that they are blatantly copying the Steve Austin story arc here, because I don't believe Austin ever apologized once for anything he did to Mr. McMahon. So, but I guess a little bit of deviation can work sometimes. Vince healing it up for no reason and being the heel, ooh, evil Mr. McMahon again, does seem to fly in the face of the spiel they gave a couple of months ago, saying that they want to give the fans things that they actually do want. I would imagine this is not that. But in a way, they are giving fans what they want because, of course, Becky's still going to get into that main event. We just have to find out how they're going to get there. And I know people are upset about this, but I can't believe anyone actually truly believes that Becky Lynch is not going to be involved in WrestleMania. Like, she's not going anywhere. She's going to be there. They've built, for example, they built this entire episode of Raw around Becky Lynch. They showed her like 20 times throughout the course of the show. They have now incorporated the McMahons into this. Ronda Rousey, who's one of their biggest names right now, is in this angle. They're probably going to involve Ric Flair this angle in 2 weeks with the birthday celebration they have coming up. So it's like they're putting a lot of their eggs into the Becky Lynch basket right now. I don't think she's going to go anywhere. Of course, she's going to be in the main event. Now, I know a lot of people want to see a one-on-one match with Becky and Ronda. I would posit the theory that a triple threat match would actually be more entertaining. I think it works more in the favor of Becky. I think people are just going to root for her harder than ever before now. We do have more of a clear-cut heel in Charlotte because people are more ready to boo her than, say, Ronda Rousey. And people could say that, Becky she obviously deserves to be in the main event, but frankly, so does Charlotte. And you might disagree with it, but her body of work speaks for itself. And this is coming from a guy who has long detested the whole theory of, well, so-and-so is way more deserving than so-and-so for this. So except for the fact that we're probably not going to get that straight one-on-one match with Becky and Ronda, I don't really know why people are so upset about the build so far. They're getting what they want. They're putting so much emphasis on Becky, and it's so clear she's still going to be involved in the main event. And I can agree to some extent with people who complain about the McMahon stuff being like old hat and not what they want to see, kind of frustrating to watch, but it is pretty much like what they know best to do, and this is the hero's odyssey we're seeing here. It's really a tale as old as time. Smackdown begins with a recap of what happened the previous night on Raw, and past Vince McMahon introduces Charlotte Flair, and present-day Charlotte appears in the ring on Smackdown. Very clever way to introduce her there. Great heel promo by Charlotte, by the way. She says that WrestleMania is her destiny. She rubs Becky's suspension in her face and says that McMahon made a smart business decision to insert her as the replacement for Becky Lynch. And then at the end of the promo, she says she dedicates her future win at Mania to her best friend, Becky Lynch, which reminded me so much of Ivory from Right to Censor saying, "My friend Chyna." Oh, by the way, in this promo, she explains that she'll have a front row seat for the Ronda Rousey-Ruby Riott match at Elimination Chamber. Betcha that's not going to lead to something. We then get the SmackDown equivalent of that 3-team match we saw with the ladies on Raw, where the losing team here will also begin the Elimination Chamber match on Sunday. It's Carmella and Naomi, the Iconics, and Fire and Desire. Carmella and Naomi are calling themselves the Fabulous Glow. It's no Samoan Slaughterhouse is all I'm saying. Why are they replaying that Iconics promo for like the 3rd time in 1 week? I know it was butted up this time with like other promos, but just like to open with that one again, I thought was excessive. It's an okay match, not nearly as drawn out and dramatic as the Raw equivalent. Naomi wins by pinning Mandy Rose with the split-legged moonsault. Bit of revenge by Naomi there after weeks of dealing with her. The Iconics jump Carmella and Naomi after the match and stand tall. And then they show this really interesting graphic where they show like all the competitors in the chamber for Sunday, who's going to be in the pods and who's going to be facing off in the ring. It's very interesting what they did there. And then they play some promos from the Raw women. And really the MVP of this whole segment, in my opinion, was the Nia Jax Tamina interview, where Nia's just talking, and then Tamina, every time she tries to talk, Nia just jumps on her and keeps talking. I, very unironically, love this character that Nia Jax is doing now. The thing they had between the two of them was amazing. Before we begin with McMiz TV, we are informed that Mustafa Ali has been pulled out of the Elimination Chamber match after an injury he sustained this past Sunday at a house show, and so a member of the New Day will replace him, and we'll find out who that is in the gauntlet match main event. So the McMiz TV, their guests are the Usos, their future opponents for this Sunday. The Usos do a tag team test, like how well they know each other, and The Miz and Shane do one of their own, and The Miz like feeds answers to Shane and stuff and get a pop for being in Toledo, Ohio. I thought it was actually pretty funny. They talk some trash to each other, and they threaten each other, and the Usos end with a double super kick to McMiz. I think this is, as good of a build as they could do for this. It's a face versus face, theoretically, kind of match with very little build going into it, but I think they did a good job in this segment establishing some tension. The champion Daniel Bryan's in the ring cutting a promo about the chamber match on Sunday. He says he doesn't want to be in the chamber match because of how dangerous it is. He says he's going to be a martyr for participating in the match. Then the New Day interrupt, and Kofi Kingston is selected to be Mustafa Ali's replacement on Sunday. And so the gauntlet match now begins with Daniel and Kofi, and the winner of this match will be the last person to enter the chamber match. So huge advantage there. Kofi and Daniel are given a ton of time in this matchup here, and it's great stuff. At one point, the New Day are ejected, and then Eric Rowan is ejected as well soon afterward. Kofi beats Daniel with the Trouble in Paradise, so big upset. So after all that, who's next? It's Jeff Hardy. More great action with that, and Kofi wins with the SOS. Samoa Joe comes out next. More great action in the ring. They do kind of botch the finish of their segment here, where they try and go for the clutch attempt. So Joe gets it on after the do-over. Kofi plays the Bret Hart to Samoa Joe's Roddy Piper and pins him out of the clutch to eliminate Joe. Joe retaliates and beats the hell out of Kofi afterward. I feel like we've seen this thing before with Samoa Joe on SmackDown. After, I think they've done a gauntlet match, the exact same thing happens. Anyway, AJ Styles comes out next. He wants to do the good sportsmanship thing. He keeps asking Kofi if he's okay, and Kofi, he's got the fire. He wants to fight, and so more great action between AJ and Kofi. This time, AJ makes Kofi submit to the calf crusher. Randy Orton's out next, and AJ's completely blindsided with an RKO out of nowhere from behind. Orton wins, and literally as the 3 counts happen, before the match is even officially over, they show a little graphic at the corner saying the show is over. So good time management by the folks running SmackDown. And, you know, I think it was an awesome main event. Kofi looks like $1 million going into Sunday, gives him instant credibility. RKO by, you know, Randy Orton, that sneaky Orton, really kind of placing himself in kind of the top heel position. One of the, I should say, him and Samoa Joe, really. But Orton, the ultimate opportunist, so to speak. No disrespect to Edge. Really good way to end the show. Time now for me to decide which show won for the week, Raw or SmackDown. And for me this week, it was a pretty easy decision to say that SmackDown gets the nod. As far as go-home shows go, it was clearly the stronger of the two. No real wasted energy or momentum. Everything they did on that show had a purpose and building toward Elimination Chamber. Raw, not so much. I did enjoy on Raw the Raw Tag Title match with the Revival and Ruble. Again, great match and very deserving win for the Revival. And I will say this, if one of the best things on your show is grainy cell phone footage of Kevin Owens throwing a gutter ball, tells you all you really need to know. With SmackDown, I enjoyed the Charlotte promo to start things off. McMiz TV was pretty good as well. The Gauntlet match was great stuff. I really don't have any issue with what happened on SmackDown. I think it was overall just a much stronger show than Raw. Let me know what you thought about Raw and SmackDown this week in the comments section below, and be sure to vote which show you thought was better in the gimmick in the upper right hand corner of your screen. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com, and check out Patreon.com/WrestlingWithRegret for exclusive perks and bonus content. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.